Can you take a minute today and, if you haven't yet already, upvote our proposed South by Southwest panel? Just open up panelpicker.sxsw.com today and search for the term marijuana today to find our pitch to upvote. That's panelpicker.sxsw.com. Thanks so much. This episode of Marijuana Today Daily is brought to you by McCabe Law, LLC of Portland, Maine, which is throwing a series of marijuana-themed seminars here in Maine for people looking to get into the state's legal adult use market. There are 3 monthly seminars scheduled, each running on the 20th day of the month, which you can learn more about over at McCabeLawLLC.com/seminars, with McCabe spelled McCabe. The first seminar is coming up on Tuesday, August 20th, so don't delay in signing up. Good morning, Marijuana Nation. It's Thursday, August 15th, 2019, and you're tuned in to episode 770 of Marijuana Today Daily. I'm your host, Shay Gunther, and I'll be walking you through today's marijuana news and headlines. As always, we have a full and busy day of cannabis news in our hands, so let's jump right into it. We start the day's news off with some big, just-released financial results out of Canada, where that nation's largest licensed marijuana provider, Canopy Growth, reported a $960 million U.S. loss for the most recent financial quarter. That's a whole lot of money, which Canopy says was mostly driven by expired warrants tied to the billions of dollars of investment it received last year from alcohol conglomerate Constellation Brands. Whatever the driver of the big loss, the news set off a 10% drop in Canopy's stock price in after-hours trading. Canopy's net revenues were just under $68 million US, up from $19.4 million in the same period last year. Open up Market Watch for more details and numbers here. As always, we have all the news we cover linked to on our website at mgatodaydaily.com. The Boston Globe's Dan Adams has a must-read story about how Massachusetts is planning on implementing legal cannabis delivery. We've touched on this one a number of times in the past, but Dan takes a really good and detailed look at how the Bay State's delivery service will work, especially in regards to the required technology that delivery companies will need to deploy. Of particular concern are body cameras that delivery drivers will wear while making service calls. There's also some worry about the high costs of meeting all delivery requirements, which includes having 2 employees in a car that must be decked out with multiple cameras, GPS tracking devices, and lockboxes for cash and marijuana. Delivery services would also not be free to deliver to towns that enact adult use business bans and will not be able to purchase cannabis in bulk from wholesale providers, but rather will be required to buy already packaged and marked up goods from retail stores. Read this story. Yesterday, Mexico's Supreme Court demanded that the nation's health ministry develop and release guidelines for medical marijuana within the next 6 months as part of a ruling on a case involving a young, sick, would-be medical marijuana patient. Medical marijuana was actually legalized in Mexico in 2017, but the rules for implementing how a program could work have not yet been issued. The health ministry released a statement afterwards saying it intended to comply with the order. Here's to hoping that develops substantially. Those are our top stories for today. It's time for Marijuana Today Daily Headlines Blitz. Before we blitz out on headlines, let's quickly thank our sponsor, McCabe Law, LLC of Portland, Maine, which is throwing a series of cannabis seminars here in Maine for people looking to get into the state's legal adult use market. McCabe Law is partnering with the Climate Resources Group and putting on 3 monthly seminars starting this Tuesday, August 20th. Attendees will walk away with a better understanding of Maine's adult use laws, how cannabis businesses will be licensed, and how they can better position themselves to take advantage. You can open up McCabeLawLLC.com/seminars to read more about the upcoming seminars and to sign up yourself. That's McCabeLawLLC.com/seminars, with McCabe spelled McCabe. Big thanks to Chris McCabe and his team over at McCabe Law LLC for the support that makes today's show possible. All right, time for the Blitz. Pennsylvania has added more than 3,000 people to its ranks of registered medical marijuana patients just in the last month, thanks to the addition of anxiety to the list of qualifying conditions. That pace has now picked up to more than 1,000 new registrants a week. Currently, Pennsylvania has around 180,000 patients in all. Researchers at the University of California, Davis are conducting a scientific study on the biological and chemical properties of the marijuana plant. The work is being done in conjunction with the biopharmaceutical research company, which has an application in with the Drug Enforcement Administration to grow cannabis for medical purposes, which regular listeners should know is a process that's been long held up by the DEA. Chris Moore over at Mary Jane has more on this if you're hungry for details. The Fresh Toast has a good story that plays to a theme we've seen pop up here on the Daily, as well as on our weekly show, Marijuana Today, and that's the physical differences between industrial hemp cannabis and the kind of marijuana you smoke to feel good and that will get you in trouble with the feds. In short, it's impossible to tell by looking, smelling, or touching marijuana whether it has a high level of THC in it or is all CBD. That's important because marijuana with less than 0.3% THC is fully legal to have in the United States now, thanks to last year's Farm Bill. The Fresh Toast's take on this has to do with police dogs, which have been found to also be unable to distinguish between THC-rich marijuana and legal hemp. I love how complicated it's getting for police to bust people for marijuana. Swinging back to Massachusetts, we have a kind of fun story as that state's former U.S. Congressman Barney Frank made a surprise appearance at a public listening session held yesterday by the Cannabis Control Commission, at which he talked about the legislation he first proposed back in 1972 as a state representative to decriminalize marijuana. Former Congressman Frank was for a long time one of the few politicians in Washington, D.C. who took cannabis seriously, and we all owe him a great deal of gratitude for what we have today. My favorite part of the story was when former Congressman Frank said, quote, "I'm getting old, but at least one thing that I've found improves with age, and that is the pleasure of getting to say, I told you so," unquote. A committee to consider the legalization of adult-use marijuana in New Mexico held its first meeting yesterday as the group, empowered by Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham, is tasked with studying how legalization could work ahead of preparing a report for the state legislature. Another meeting is scheduled at the end of this month. If you're in New Mexico and want to add in your voice, open up Marijuana Business Daily for more details. Hemp Industry Daily has a good story up about a damaging hailstorm that ripped through a part of Oregon earlier this month, destroying millions of dollars of industrial hemp crops as it did. Hail and other extreme weather events are just a part of life for conventional farms and farmers, which are usually covered by insurance. In our industry, even industrial hemp, not so much. Things are starting to improve along that front, but we're still a far way away from parity with, say, asparagus farmers when it comes to be able to protect against bad weather with insurance. We end today with some good news for cultivators, as it appears that the wholesale price of marijuana is trending up in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington as demand holds steady as supply falls due to failing farms and cultivators pivoting to hemp and CBD-rich strains. Investment firm Seaport Global just released a report showing a rebound in wholesale prices since April for the country's oldest 3 legal marijuana markets, with Oregon growers seeing a 100% jump in the amount of money they get for wholesale pounds. This is an important storyline regardless of where you hang your business hat, so maybe not a bad one to add to your list to read today. Those are the headlines and news for the day. I'll be back with you again tomorrow morning with another information-packed episode of Marijuana Today Daily. But in the meantime, if you have any stories to share or feedback to give, zip us an email to headlines@mjtodaydaily.com. And while you're clicking around the interwebs, swing over to our Twitter account at mjtodaydaily and visit our website at mjtodaydaily.com to find links to all the news we cover. Thanks to our sponsor, McCabe Law, and all of our awesome Patreon listeners for the support that makes this show possible. To join the illustrious ranks of the Patreon listeners yourself, swing over to our website at mjtodaydaily.com and click on that big blue button at the top of the page that says Become a Patron. I'm your host, Shay Gunther. Thanks for tuning in and starting your day with marijuana today.
One take, Shay. One take.